2024, the year that a large portion of Americans proved that they really didn't mind wearing masks as long as they were white and pointy. But there was something else that happened that year. Helldivers 2. Even at release, it felt like an especially prescient game with its focus on fascism wrapped in the dressings of American patriotism, but I repeat myself.
Tyranny is a cancer.
And like Idiocracy, Helldivers has only proven to be more realistic over time as America has gone back to spreading its own brand of managed democracy. I can't imagine why more people don't seem to want it. It's working so well here.
Let our enemies choke upon their territorial ambitions.
When the game released, it was set in the year 2184. This was 100 years after the events of the first game, and that matters because at the end of the first game, we won. Freedom has spread throughout the galaxy, and all it took was the near genocide of 2 alien races and the murder or enslavement of everyone who ever thought to question if things could be better. And for what? Less than 100 years later, billions of Helldivers and hundreds of billions of everyone else lie dead, and nothing has changed. The peace that tyranny promises can never exist because it needs an enemy, and when it has none, it will make one. Multiple enemies is better. Fascism works well with a nebulous sense of threat from without and within, so the people will give the government just a little more power in exchange for safety.
I think it's worth giving up a little bit of freedom.
I am still talking about the game, in case you can't tell. That peace and freedom is right around the corner, but first we have to get rid of all these terrorists and spies. And then we also need to stop some other bad thing that's happening somewhere else, because that might be a threat later, but while we're there, we'll pick up a few barrels of oil. That's not my metaphor. The Tyranids in this game decompose into spaceship fuel when they die, and it's just called oil. So it's important that we kill them, but not all of them. We need the oil, so we'll just control them and hope they don't come back more dangerous later. Do you think there's any subtext in this game at all? I keep looking, but I can't find any. It's like I'm playing Tetris. It's a wonderfully sharp piece of satire that is still as cutting as ever, much like the movie it's largely based on, but I have found it harder to laugh at while those same talking points about freedom and traitors are used to terrorize real and innocent people. Not that that's anything new.
This week, the Trump administration also stepped up their efforts to strip some students of legal status. They claim that some of these people are sympathetic to terrorist groups like Hamas.
Much like our own world, life is cheap for the Helldivers. In most games, when you die, you just respawn, but in this game, your character is just dead. The only proof they ever lived is their viscera smeared across the ground. And when you drop in again, you're a different Helldiver. New meat for the grinder. They don't have names and you can't see their faces. They won't last long enough to matter. When you do manage to complete a mission, the game even shows you how much of an impact you had. Tens of thousandths of a % of completion of a campaign to subjugate a piece of land that'll get taken back by the enemy next week.
Democracy's on its way. Helldiver KIA deploying replacement.
It all feels so pointless. It reminds me of another fight that couldn't be won. Reach is doomed. You might not catch that on your first playthrough, but the game opens where it ends, with the player character's helmet in a desolate field, a telltale bullet hole through the visor. This is not a happy story, but to me it's still a hopeful story. Now, unlike Helldivers 2, Halo has never been very political. This is back in the days when games were good, didn't have agendas, and the main characters all looked like me. So forgive me as I read my own modern values into this historically neutral game. At this point in the series, humanity had been fighting the Covenant for nearly 3 decades, and in case you don't know, it hasn't been going very well. The Covenant are an empire built from the combined might of 6 alien races ruled over by a small group of religious prophets. Turning entire planets to glass with giant space lasers is their business, and business is good. Genocide is an incidental benefit of their main goal, which is the search for ancient technology. And I'm giving you this background so you can understand that humanity is not so much in a war as it is barely surviving the purge. The main reason they haven't completely fallen is that the Covenant don't know where Earth is yet. So as I said, Reach is doomed. You play as a Spartan nicknamed Noble 6, because he's the 6th member of Noble Team, and through his visor you experience the last few weeks of struggle before the end. And struggle they do. Each small victory, each sacrifice is followed by another crushing loss. Death is everywhere on Reach, but life still never feels cheap. And that's not a knock against Helldivers, that game is telling a very different story. It treats life with the same callous disregard that real fascists do. The cold boots of managed democracy march on over the bones of ally and enemy alike. Another billion dead Helldivers for oil, and they'll yell, "For prosperity!" right before they get torn apart. But with the way things are going in the real world, I appreciate a game that treats life as something meaningful. A lot happens on Reach, but after the credits roll, you're given a new mission objective: survive. And it's a mission that you can never complete. You cannot win. Eventually you are overwhelmed by an endless tide of zealots, and the planet's surface is turned to glass. Some might wonder what was the point if you were just going to die. Maybe you should have given up, stopped resisting, and hoped they just went away. Maybe we could have asked them to turn the temperature down a little bit on the lasers they use to murder millions of innocent people. But on Reach, the corpses of Noble Team made a path for the ones who come after. The blood they shed waters the seeds of hope that will one day save humanity. Their legacy reminds us that it's not whether you win or lose that matters, but what you're fighting for. Time passes and the planet heals, and humanity remembers that in the face of overwhelming evil and hatred and violence, there were some who still struggled for a better tomorrow. When that day comes, I hope we'll all be here to see it.
But you belong to Reach. Your body, your armor, all burned and turned to glass. Everything. Except your courage. That you gave to us. And with it, we can rebuild.